by himself one day and was drunk, drinking behind the wheel, had an open container, many open containers, the police later found, and got into a head-on collision that almost killed him and the people in the other vehicle. Luckily, he survived. He was in the hospital for a long time, a lot of broken bones, ribs, fractured hip.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened in New Hampshire where this accident took place. We lived in Massachusetts, so he went up north to go on this fishing trip. And after the wreck and for being in the hospital for all this time, he met a nurse at the hospital that he fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
And he told my mother, I'm not coming home. And that he was going to marry this woman he was going to move in with, and he was going to marry this woman who did ultimately end up becoming my stepmother.
Okay, interesting. And how old were you at the time? You were little.
I was 2.
Right. Tiny.
And so my mom and dad got divorced, but that was his out. That's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I would ask my mother about it. And she said, your father my mother was very careful not to badmouth my father. Because my mother was of the belief that I'm just going to let the facts speak for themselves. I don't want him to ever think that I drove his father away or that I was responsible for this in any way.
Mm-hmm.
So she was very careful about just sticking to the facts. But when I would press her for insight as to why would he leave us? Like, what did I do? Because as I got older, I took that as what was so
awful about living with me.
Right.
Yeah.
And she said, I just think he couldn't cope with life. I just think he was miserably unhappy. I think he was overwhelmed. And I'm not excusing it. She never excused it, but she said some people just can't. And for whatever reason, he seems to think he's going to find happiness with her there.
Mm-hmm.
And just know that, I love you and I'm never going to leave you. My mother did end up remarrying a man who provided for us financially, but was not really a father to me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I did have an opportunity to hang out with and, talk to my father as I got older. I remember I was around 12 years old and I had that conversation with him. And I wasn't mad. I was just trying to understand.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah.
I want to hear your side of the story.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much, he never felt like, well, as he would say, he didn't feel like he could ever make my mother happy.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't feel like he had what it took to provide a good life for us. Because my mother was pregnant with my sister when he took off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he said, your mother met your stepfather. And I just felt like it was best for me to stay away. That's why I didn't contact you because, your mother was kind of starting this new life with a new man. And he could obviously provide for you guys better than I ever would have been able to.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ashamed and I was embarrassed and I just didn't want to interfere and I decided to stay away. But having said that, he said to me at the time, he says, you're welcome to come up and hang out here. And I would like a relationship with you. But, he was as bad as I am about sending cards or writing a note. He didn't really, it never felt like he had, no.
Yeah, he didn't work at it.
No, not at all. But that was a lesson that I learned that you just can't, you just can't make people move, Yeah. Some people are just the way they are and you're never going to be able to change them.
Yeah.
So, and it just reminded me of this guy who faked his own death. My father didn't go to that extreme, but
but he did go live in a trailer in the woods.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally did. That was his life.
Yeah.
He met and married this woman that he fell in love with. And they lived in a single wide trailer on the side of a hill overlooking a lake.
Mm-hmm.
And he was happy and he lived with her until the day she died. And then he died shortly after. So, yeah, I'm just, when I hear stories about this guy from Wisconsin who faked his own death and went to that extreme, that just, makes me think about my dad and people who just are looking for a way to completely check out and some of the extremes they'll go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody sent a note and said, it's not just dads. It's not just the men.
True.
This woman said, my mom tried it for a Middle Eastern guy. She had her bags packed, passport.
Oh, wow.
Ticket to Paris.
Ready to go.
She was leaving the family for him.
Wow.
Ultimately, she never went because I caught her before she left. And we later found out that she was suffering from mental illness that we didn't know she had. So
I'm sure there's some of that.
Sometimes that
too.
plays into it.
Sure.
Yeah. So I do wonder if this guy will come back to the States and face his family.
I just feel so bad for those kids.
Me too.
That's just really going to mess with their heads.
Yeah. Yeah, it really will.
They'll be on a lot of therapy for that somewhere down the line.
Right. Okay. Coming up, your shot at $1,000. Another round of the 1K letter of the day. And, if you missed it, we got new music from Wicked.
Yeah. Ariana
Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Is it Erivo or Erivo?
Wow.
I knew I could count on you guys.
Not sure.
We defer
the theater
all of this.
nuts.
Well,
if Fritz was here,
this is her
exactly.
thing.
Well, it's been nonstop on every TV in here, but they're all on mute. So,
Right.
no idea.
Yeah. All right, that's all coming up straight ahead. But first, let's check the roads. We've got Denise Johnson standing by here with your latest Q102 traffic.
Things winding down now from our morning commute. You're looking a lot better. Southbound 7175. They cleared that accident at 275. Traffic is still slow from right around Kyle's Lane, but you're slow on up to Buttermilk, so things are easing there. Southbound 75 still slow right at that Ronald Reagan merge, and North 75 on and off your brakes just north of Mitchell to the lateral, where the traffic merges all over into 3 lanes instead of 4. Traffic is brought to you by Metro, a new kind of transit that's ready when you are. Ride Metro now. Learn more at go-metro.com. I'm Denise Johnson. That's your traffic.
Q.